So welcome to another one of our breakout rooms at the Sustaining Church Conference. I'm really excited to introduce Tim Watson to you. And I think this session will really tie in well to many of the themes and things we've already talked about at this conference, to really continue imagining and thinking these things through. And just to give a little introduction to Tim, originally training as an accountant, now living as a farmer in Mountain Ash in South Wales, with no prior experience. Tim is a farmer and a builder, and has a real heart to see sustainable, responsible farming and thinking about what that might look like in an era of environmental uncertainty. And including that, of course, with a love of God and love of creation. So this will be really exciting. So I'd love to introduce Tim to chat to us about restoring devastated places. So I will hand over to you, Tim.
Thank you, Emily. That's so kind. I'm going to show some pictures because you don't want to look at me. So I'm going to share my screen and go through a bit of a slideshow, which will hopefully give a bit of background. So when this works, oh, hang on, it's not there, not yet. Right, so our place where we are is called Bringabythe. We've renamed it Bringabythe, but Bringabythe means Hill of Hope. Hang on, it's not working. Don't know what's going on there. But anyway, Bringabythe, Hill of Hope, and really that's reflective of what we feel is our mandate for the area, which is to bring hope into a devastated place. And I suppose there's a couple of key verses for us. Can you all see the screen? Does that work? Okay, a couple of key verses for us. Isaiah 58 and Isaiah 61. Rebuilding the ancient ruins, restoring age-old foundations, repairer of broken walls. We've had so many broken walls to fix. And then rebuilding ancient ruins, restoring the places long devastated. And because we're in the South Wales valleys, you don't have to go very far to find devastated places. So, economically, it's been devastated. Socially, it's been devastated. So it's, in one sense, it's not a happy place. So that's where we are, if you can see that. That's the South Wales bit. Cardiff is down sort of in the bottom middle bit. And where the red dot is, that's where we are. And then that's a close picture, Mountain Ash. And then that's the farm. And then this is a good picture of the farm today, with beautiful sunlight on the hill with some atmospheric clouds in the background, which is great. But so where we came into this was we've been completely we've had no experience whatsoever in terms of farming, and we came into this almost derelict farm that we had to try and clear up. And so we spent the first few months just trying to get a hold of, what it could be, clearing all the mess and the rubbish, and trying to sort of get a baseline. We didn't expect to be landowners. We were only looking for about 10 or 20 acres. And then we got the opportunity to buy this farm, which is 330 acres. So 210 acres of upland farming, about 55 acres of woodland, 65 acres of decent pasture. And we're sort of in the process of restoring it. I'm just going to stop the screen right there for a moment and try and get I've got some words which I can't see at the moment because they're hidden somewhere. Just one moment. Sorry, guys. Right. So we sold our family home probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and we're townies by background. You know, I'm an accountant, Joy's a counsellor, and we came across this place, quite remarkable. It's a real God story, and it involves some personal prophecy, dreams, and so on. And initially, I was really excited because it came with a lot of land, and my wife Joy was not excited, saw the place and came away crying, saying, I can't possibly live there. So, you know, it's not been a straightforward journey, and I was praying, Lord, I'm not going to push Joy into it. If you have this in mind for us, then, you know, you've got to convince Joy as well, because I'm not going to, you know, make her do it. But I felt the Lord say that it was a choice. It was, you know, we didn't have to do it. We could have chosen not to, but we both eventually came to the conclusion that, yeah, we wanted to do it. It was what God was leading us to. It was much bigger and more than we could ever possibly think. But yeah, we were just crazy enough to have a go. So the first bit of the sort of project was to try and clear years and years of general mess, crud, detritus, everything else, which had, you know, basically the owners had opened the back door and thrown their rubbish out. It was a complete mess. I had started to try and restore the farmhouse, but within a couple of months decided it was just too much. So we ended up knocking the whole place down and rebuilding on the exact site, and trying to sort of get a place that we could actually live in reasonably. And in the process, we involved lots of people, lots of friends and family to try and help us do that. So right from the start, our heart has been to be very inclusive, very community focused. We know we can't do it all on our own. It's got to be in conjunction with partners. So I suppose the advantage of not being from a background of farming is that you haven't got those preconceived ideas. You know, we could have just put a whole load of sheep on the farm and, you know, it would have been fine. But sheep farming in South Wales probably isn't sustainable in the long term. And certainly when we got there, the land was totally overgrazed. It was very, very poor. Nothing had been done. Basically, the farmers had just, you know, let the sheep wander all over the place. And yeah, it just wasn't sustainable in the long term. So we knew we had to rethink it. So what we started to do was reimagine what it might look like. And in that sense, we're exploring partnerships with some friends of ours who moved to the area to be part of it. Abby and Richard are sort of exploring aquaponics, and we're doing that with them. Aquaponics is where you have a fish tank at one end, and the nitrate-rich water flows through some growing beds in the process, all the nitrates get lifted out by the plants. The plants are very well fed, they love it. The water gets filtered as a result, and the water goes back in. So it's very sustainable. It's low, sort of the water consumption is very low, and it's a complete controlled system. So we're exploring that with them. We'd like to do 2 or 3 sort of aquaponics polytunnels. We're also looking at permaculture principles, and we're doing a big sort of rewilding project. That's partly because we've just been fairly relaxed about not overgrazing the fields, and we've just noticed the whole place is much more fertile than we ever imagined. So we've got saplings, we've got so many oak saplings growing up. Our woods are largely birch and oak, and there's a carpet of oak saplings in the woods. It's incredible. If we go into the fields, there's so many different grasses, so many different flowers. There are saplings growing in there. That's going to present a real challenge, because at some point I'm going to want to, cut that grass and get it under control. But while it's there, we're going to take the saplings, replant them into where we want them to be, and pursue a sustainable meadow idea for our pastures. So very much we want to be hand in hand with local communities, with ideas for new growing. And there's a spiritual element absolutely alongside all that. With every piece of litter we were picking up, it felt like cleansing the land. With every bit of crap that we were picking up, and we picked up a lot, we shifted tons and tons. It felt like just this restoration process of the land. And we really love the land, and we want to see it in a very, very healthy state, rather than being overgrazed, being overused, and without much imagination. So, we're trying to think outside the box. We're trying to explore different ideas, and we're trying to listen to other people and to Father God as to what might be possible. So where we are right now, we're exploring different farming options. We're exploring aquaponics. We're up until recently, we haven't been actually living on site. We only moved in just before Christmas, literally 2 or 3 days before Christmas. So we're now considering what animals we want to get on, and where they might be located, and how we're going to rotate grazing. Had people grazing off various fields just to keep them under control, but now it feels we're in a position to really start to make plans. And it feels like we've been going at this a long time. We bought it back in 2017. Took us a couple of years to get planning, so we've really owned it for 5 years. But I can't remember who said it takes about 10 years to be an overnight success. So we're trying to go slow, we're trying to go carefully, we're trying to make sure that we do the right thing at the right time without messing up. So our heart is very much restoration. Our heart is very much partnership. We want to be involved in the local community. We're unashamedly Christian about it. And so far, the reception has been very good, in that, we're not sitting around in a circle singing Kumbaya. We're actually getting our hands dirty in the soil, making a difference. So I think probably that's what people see and appreciate. As you can see from the pictures, we've had a load of people come and help on the farm, and that's been a real feature. Loads of people have been involved, loads of people have given time and blood, sweat and tears, and I suppose that marks a real, that's what we want to be known for, very inclusive. Even people who haven't got much of a clue have been on and helped, and shifted rubbish, dug and planted trees, cut things down that we didn't want. So it's been a real exploration in what it means to be community, and we're loving that. Sort of by contrast, we were living in Cardiff before for a long time. Joy and I have been married for a long time. We lived in Cardiff for most of our married life, and in Cardiff it's like most cities, head down, just get on with it. But up here you have to stop, you have to talk to people, and you have to make time. So there's a different rhythm of life which we're exploring, and that really fits in with listening and to the world around us, listening to nature, listening to the land, and trying to respond to that in a way that's unhurried and appropriate. And we really feel that we are just stewards of this. We've been given an amazing opportunity, but we're just stewards. We're never going to be able to complete everything that's in our heart to do. It's going to be too big. So when you start from that point, I kind of think you start to think longer term. We're not going to be able to do it, but we can maybe set it up so that others can take it on after us. So we're very much thinking legacy. We're very much thinking sustainability. We're very much thinking the future. Who's going to take this on? And our heart would be that this place is dedicated to Father God for years and years to come. We hope that it'll stay in our family line for generations to come. If not our family line, then certainly in the hands of those who appreciate what it means to love God and look after his creation. So it's a mixture of very practical, spiritual, crazy dreaming, and I don't know how we've got here, but we have, and we're very, very blessed. Every time I sit down at the table for breakfast, I just can't help thinking we are so blessed. So yeah, that's about it. There's a few more slides to go. What you're seeing now is the upland grazing, and there's quite a lot of real wilding going on here. This is birch trees, a lot of bracken, which we would like to deal with, but a lot of trees being rewilded on the site. These are trees we've actually replanted, so we've dug up and replanted them. So we're trying to manage the landscape as best we can. As you can see, the field needs a good cut. We've got 3 natural water sources on our land, and in the future, water and water retention is going to be incredibly important. These brooks used to run most of the year. We've noticed in the last 3 years they're quite dry between May and September. So thinking about how we retain water is a key thing, especially on the hills. We want to try and put in place water retention ideas to let water gradually seep down as it would do naturally. And yeah, we have no idea how the long-term picture will be, but our commitment is to go step by step, being careful with what we do, and make sure that we're treading lightly on this precious earth. I think that's our heart, to just tread lightly and make sure we leave it in a better place. Not many, we just want to leave this in a better place than when we came, which actually in this case isn't too difficult, but longer term, we want to get better and better at looking after this place. So there we are. And I welcome any thoughts, any questions, any clarification. Speak up.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. I just really love the humility that's come forward through what you've shared, and really showing us as all of us, we're amateurs. None of us are experts at this. None of us, well, most of us perhaps have just by chance stumbled into a lot of these circles and ways of responding to climate crisis, and don't know what we're doing, don't know what the future holds, but just hearing other voices and seeing what God is doing and what God has done in other people's lives is really, really encouraging. So thank you for what you've shared. And we've had one question in the chat, and it was really wonderful to see how many people have been involved in this. That was a really wonderful thing. So somebody has asked, how did you ask people for help? What's that process been like?
Well, it's mostly friends. We had a lot of friends in Cardiff, and we had volunteer days, sort of about once a month early on, not too often because you can get volunteer fatigue. So, and we fed them really well with chocolate and biscuits and cakes and stuff like that. So hopefully they would come back. We've also been partnering. I mentioned the guys doing the aquaponics, Richard and Abby. Richard works in a refugee and asylum seeker place in Cardiff, and once a month he's brought people up from there. There's some amazing individuals with refugee status who have actually got agricultural or farming experience back in their originating country, and we just end up placing them in cities in a bedsit, and that's just so soul destroying. So it's been great for people to be able to come up, breathe some fresh air and get their hands dirty. We've also linked with a couple of one was a drugs rehab place which my wife Joy had connections with, and they came up and did some work with us over a period of time. And we've just linked with an alcohol rehab mission place locally in Aberdare, and they're coming across again about once a month. It's so therapeutic for people to get their hands dirty, get a bit messy, do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. On top of that, we've had quite a few kids come up, and normally how often do you get to wield a hammer around and smash down walls or rebuild this, that and the other? And so that's been a real, the novelty of doing some of the hard labor has meant that we've had some really good volunteers come up, and they've been they've really been really helpful. The pictures coming up now. South Wales are notorious for hill fires, and we've had our hills burnt probably about 3 times since we've owned it in the last 5 years, and it's basically arson. So somebody thinks it's a great idea to burn all the bracken. Happens between about March and April, when the bracken is dry and the new growth doesn't come. So that's going to be a real challenge for us. How can we put in fire breaks, clear some of the bracken, and manage better, because it's a massive release of carbon all in one go, which is very, very damaging, because it just promotes so much new growth of bracken the next season. Plus, for wildlife, anything nesting on the ground in that area just gets completely destroyed. It's heartbreaking, really, almost physically painful for us. Yeah,
I'm aware that we should be wrapping up soon, but I'd love to just briefly, really briefly, if you're able to share, when you do come across challenges, whether this one, or I'm sure you've had times in it over the course of this project where it's been really difficult. How have you kind of kept going in those times, if you're able to briefly share a thought?
Well, thankfully, I'm with it with joy as well. And at the moment, neither of us have been down at the same time. We've each had our low points, and we have been able to sort of help sustain each other. So that's been one thing. Plus, we believe in what we're doing, so that really helps. We have a real focus on what we're doing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all that you've shared, Tim, and for those of you who've come along and participated. It's given us lots to think about. So thank you once again.
Thank you.